Hey, g'day guys. G'day Josh. We're back having a look at Josh's car. So, if a bit of an update, we're back and forth a couple of different tuning profiles. And on the last one we sent back over to Josh, he made the couple of changes, and this is the profile. And he sent me this log back. And I was running through the logs, having a check of it. I've got one, what have I actually got here? I've got just a miscellaneous, a fueling. It might be okay, we might look at that. Engine health. So engine health for me is a really quick look. I check battery voltage, that it's stable. This is only a part run, but there's a bigger run. We can see something here. There was a start here. You can see the voltage drops down. We can actually spread it out a little bit and have a bit of a look there. Run back through it. 10.87, still above 10, so I'm happy with that. And we've got some temperature. Here's the engine temp. And you can see it comes up. It's getting up to 84. Push the wrong button there. And when he's actually driving it, it drops down and gets a bit cooler. Air temps do climb. Inlet air temps do climb a little when it's sitting low speed. Let's see, we've got some idle speed. Does climb a little bit. But that's fairly normal with the VVti, with the intake behind the radiator and the throttle body being in the center. But the main concern I had was when we got into there's Lambda there. What's this one? Lambda overlay. Yeah, that's not actually a bad one, but there's quite a lot of information on here. And we were looking at speed. I will come back to speed too. So let's have a look at fueling. And when he popped a few revs onto it, we were running a little bit leaner than I really wanted. I'm actually going to use the Lambda screen here. I've got. So we'll just find a spot where he's given it a few more revs. So we've got engine speed. Here's a few more revs here climbing up. Yeah, 446. That's good. We'll stretch it out a bit. And you can see here, this is the throttle position. He's got some throttle on. And it's quite rich there. And it's got lots of correction. It's pulling fuel out. Okay, so that's where it's pulling a lot of fuel out there. We're going to go to another little spot here further on. We're going to go over here again to a section where he's got a few more revs on. We're going to stretch it. And we've got a Lambda target of 0.83. And you can see here, here's our Lambda correction. Was the other one pulling fuel out? I'm sure it was. But it is adding a lot of fuel through here. Okay, so that means that the engine is running leaner than it should. We're at 0.97, 0.99. Our target is 0.83. He's got wide open throttle, 100% throttle, 100% with the map is at atmosphere, and at 4,500 RPM. And it shows that the engine is leaning out at those revs. And I could look through this map in several places. I actually might have been trying to add fuel here, trying to get it. The mixture might have been okay, but it was trying to add. But where's 0? 0 is here. And you can see at higher revs, it's trying to add quite a lot of fuel. And is generally running lean. I had a discussion with Josh, and we went through, and he has changed and checked his fuel pump. Also, in that, the settings for the fuel pressure. We go in here, ECU settings, fuel setup, fuel main. You can see here base fuel pressure. We had it at 413 kPa. So 4 and a bit bar. Turns out it was 3 bar, 43 psi. So that has been changed as well. So that's going to make a difference to our fueling. A new fuel pump, part of the testing when Josh drove it, it was dropping fuel pressure. So it got to 4,000 RPM and it went from, let's say, 45 and it dropped to about 40 psi, which would cause a leaning in the revs. And of course, the more he pushed it, the more it was going to lean out because the engine was using more fuel than the fuel pump could flow. That basically meant that we diagnosed that there was a crook fuel pump. Having a fuel pressure sensor wired into the computer would have made that far easier to check because we could have just checked that fuel pressure, logged it, seen it was dropping, and know that it needs some maintenance in that area. So it's had a fuel pump done, and he sent me another log, and we'll just confirm he's checked that there. So I'll just grab that other log. Pretty sure it's over here. Here it is here. Here is the adjustment. We'll download that. And we'll go back, and here is the log. We'll grab that. Perfect. So we'll open adjustment 2. And we'll open the log. And now we're going to have a heap more files open. Okay, what have I actually got here? So we have all 4. So this should be the new one. If I go into ECU settings, fuel setup, and fuel main, still 413. We'll check this one. I'm going to need to check because both of these settings, hold there for a moment. Maybe I've just downloaded the wrong ones. Right, had a bit of a look. Both of those tunes do appear to have that pressure in there, which I'm not too sure quite if that's been run like that or not. Okay. So if we look at the software over here, returnless, and this should actually be reading, it was 43 psi. So if we just grab an online converter, now this pressure converter, online pressure converter. So we're going down here to kPa, kilopascal, to PSI. Well, I'm probably actually doing it backwards, but it doesn't really matter. Pounds per square inch. $300 kPa. And if you do a rough estimate of 15, you're close. So each 100 kPa is 1 bar, and it isn't actually quite 15, it's 14.7. So hence we come up with a 43.5. So if we go into this setting here, base fuel pressure should be 300, and we have to push enter. If you don't push enter, it won't record it. I'm going to save this as, because put it in here, and I've been using G4X, the new software. So that is a little bit of a tricky one at the moment, and it's in my D drive. So it's quite important to make sure that you do save a copy of your maps as you change them. And my one's quite deep, as you can see. I've got lots of different folders and files. I'm pretty sure I put it in web. So we're going to change this to cartoon take 3. So that is now changed to 300 kPa, and that is going to change your fueling a little bit. We're going to look at this logging, and we can see this one here I'm looking at is the fuel correction. We've got fuel correction 1 and 2, but you can notice these two maps, these two lines on these two screens are very similar on these two zones, which is really good. Now, I think I need to kind of explain the different Lambda settings. On the software, over here, if we go ECU settings, fuel menu, closed loop Lambda. I've presently got it on staunch mode and wideband. And I find for when I'm tuning, when I'm trying to get it right, that's really nice because it isn't a big instant jump. Ultimately, that's designed, so it's a slow, a gradual pulling or increasing of fuel. Once we get the tune close, some people do find that auto mode is very, very effective. It's not designed, however, to make up for a bad tune. Okay, so the closed loop Lambda is designed to trim a well-rounded map or a well-rounded tune just to finish it off. If you're using it to make up for a poor quality tune, you're doing it wrong, straight up. So at the moment, I like it on staunch mode, but later on we may change that to auto. And auto mode works off the average of the two widebands, the two sensors on each side, if you are running 2. And that is why I was very interested in how close these are. Some engines, you will find a 5% variance or more between the different banks on the engine. In which case, if you average those, the auto mode may not give the best results. And that's why I was looking at this, and I've got it on this mode for now while we're setting it up. Later on, Josh will make a decision and may make some changes. So I'm really happy with that. Fuel trims from the last one, I would sort of find 13, 14s when it was up in the revs. What sort of revs are we here? 3,600. Here's another big one. What sort of revs are we doing here? 5,100, and we've got an 8%. There's a 12% in that one. Overall, though, much, much better in the tuning. We can probably, regardless of the settings for fuel pressure, we can probably make this bit of an adjustment in that area. Before I do that though, we're just going to discuss down here GP speed. He was not doing 3,452 kilometers per hour. So that can be adjusted, the speed, engine speed. And also, see, I can still use this to a point. You know, here, I need to push over a bit more. He was doing 5,200. He was going 3,600 kilometers, I suppose, kilometers, which he was going faster than he is here. So he's slowing down. And he's actually leveled out in speed, and here he's decelerating. So it's nice. You can use your speed as well, even though it's way wrong. Josh is going to grab his GPS, grab his phone. He's going to come over here, and there was digital inputs right here, GP speed, and he's going to change this number here. And he might come up like 200. He's going to give it a drive and see what it does. So that should sort out the GP speed. Get that sorted. Let's have a look at those high points like this here. Oh, that's not bad. This one here. See, that's a 6% and a 9%. There's still 3% difference between sides. It's not too bad. What do we got here? 9.7, 10.6. That's only 1 point. 3 and 6, that's 6%. There is a bit of a difference here, isn't there? 6 and 7.7, 1.7. That's not too bad. And there's a 1.8 and 1.6. So not a big difference. Okay, so we grab this zone here. We have a look here. Here's and we have a look at what's happening with all the other factors. So we'll stretch it out. So it's adding fuel. However, if you look up here, it's extremely lean. That's why it's adding fuel. We come down here, 4,600. But he's got his throttle shut. And he's decelerating. So it's actually just leveled off. It's not, as such, adding fuel. The problem is back here. So we don't want to go adjusting up in here. We want to look at what's happening in this zone here. So he's got his throttle. There's 74% throttle. He's at 4,200 RPM. And it is adding fuel. I can't really see the screen. Can you see this red one? Oh, I can't really see it. Let's change that. That red is a horrid color. We'll just change the color here. See where yellow looks. All right, can we see that yellow better? So is it 100 kPa? So his foot is fully open. So that's a really good place to look at it. He's at 4,200 RPM. We're just going to slowly click through it. 4,500 here. Again, 75% throttle. Pretty much full throttle. It's still trying to correct. Still adding fuel. Right up. And I think we're at 95% throttle. 5,600. So from 4.2 to 5.6, it is adding fuel. We're still adding fuel. It's actually got an 11% and a nearly 8. 6,000 RPM. And I think you can see right there, Just going to stretch it just a little bit more for you. We're looking at that throttle, 91%, and then he shuts the throttle. He closed the throttle at that point there. So after that point, there's pretty much, we don't want to go adjusting more zones because the throttle shut. The wideband hasn't quite adjusted, or the injectors haven't closed. We're actually in that point where, well, he still hasn't shut the throttle completely, so the injectors haven't shut off yet on the decel. So we want to stay here. So from 6,000, so let's say 442 to 6, we need to add some fuel. So going over here, we look at the main map. We'll go into the tuning screen. And we go into the fuel table active. So this is Josh's fuel map. I'm just going to look at the inactive map. Okay, that's the inactive map. What we can actually do, oh, I've got the wrong one. Let's go back to the active map. We can take the active map and we can export that out there. We can bring it back in here. Oh, wrong way again. There we go. And we can input this back in. So now we have two maps, both the same. And you might ask why I did that. What it means is it's really easy to compare whether your car is going better because you can just switch it back to the map it was on before. So we go up in here from 4,000 or 4,200 through to 6,000. It needed more fuel. Just going to grab these two. And I suspect it's probably going to need that continuing on. Quite big numbers up in here. Fat power band in there. I'm just going to give these just a little smidge more as well. Hey, Josh also asked about increasing the rev limit. We've increased the fueling from 4 through to 7. And he did ask about increasing rev limits. Go to Rev to engine protection. Engine protection. Rev limit. So it's a fuel cut. Advanced mode is on. Hard cut is 100% fuel cut. We'll leave that there at the moment. It's adaptive, so the control range is 200. So it'll actually start coming in at like 6.8. And then it brings in the hard cut. Okay, so we've got, here it is, rev limit. And right here are the numbers for the rev limits. Now, if we remember rightly, remember that temperature thing? Find it in the logging. Engine health. So when he's driving, he's at 76 degrees here. It was, so 75, 76 degrees. There's 78 degrees. So that will affect his rev cut, which is, he's in the 70, but he's 70 and 80. So he's actually got a rev cut coming in at 75. He's going to be halfway between here. So he's going to be between 6 and 6.5, so 6,250. Let's just do a little bit of a tweak here. Let's make that 5,000. Let's make this 6,000. Let's make this 7,000. It's not getting up into the hot. 7,000, 6.5, and then 3. So that should give between 70 and 90. So in the normal running zones, a 7,000 RPM should start just a little bit earlier with the adaptive. So that should make that really grunt. But we've created another problem by doing this. It is mapped to 7. I always like to map just a little bit past. So we're going to add another zone. Access setup. So I right clicked, then left clicked. And we're just going to add another number. 7500, not 75,000. And we're going to go OK. And yes, we will interpolate. And now, look, there's some more numbers off the end. Just to be on the safe side, I actually, tell you the truth, I think I might just carry those numbers on. And I might just increase these a little bit as well. I would rather it be rich than lean up in those zones. Generally, we're tapering off in the power up there. But I would rather come from rich and lean out than come from lean and be tuning to make it richer. He did mention there was a lean spot in here somewhere. I wonder if it's at full revs up in here. And another way to have a bit of a look is in the graphic view. And you're sure there's a few humps and hollows. Might be a bit of a lull down in there. We're starting to climb up. We could probably round off that plateau at the top a little bit better. But hey, that's not actually looking too bad. While we're here, we better just look at that timing map. It's in here. And it's already up to 7.5. $34s, $32s. Just trying to look at which map we're actually running on. $25 up there. I would actually like to swap that map over. And I've got a feeling we put it on our virtual auxiliaries. Virtual auxiliary 2. Oh no, we must have been that. That must be okay then. Oh, so that's good. That's the timing map's all good. We'll have a bit of a search for that lean spot. But actually, overall, Josh has said it has been running better. We'll look at the email. Following edits, fuel pressure adjust to 300. So we've looked at that. He has adjusted the idle to 11.1. Had to lean it, which was good because we didn't have as much fuel. Leaning out 3 to 4. Everywhere else is good. Blip needs a response. 3 to 4, there's a bit of a lean. So let's see if we can find that, shall we? Let's grab the whole map again. So we're looking for some RPM between 3 and 4. Three. It's actually pulling fuel out of there. See, at that point there, we're actually got a lambda target. That blue's a bit hard to see. We'll change that color properties. The yellow, we double click on it. Yellow was nice and bright. I'm just going to make them all yellow there. All those ones are yellow. So we're actually lambda target is 0.98. And it's pulling fuel out to do that. That's only at 2.3. And it's a 5. 3.5. It's pulling fuel out. Lambda target of 0.92. And he's about to shut the throttle there as well. So I've just got to watch that. 3.4. And it's only pulling out 6% throttle of fuel. So it's actually not bad at all. Right. I think where we're at now, Josh, I want you to go through and I want you to confirm that the last drive was 100% at the correct setting in here. So check that is 300. The log that came through to me, the file that came through to me was at 413. Got to make sure we push enter. The actual overall log is looking real good. Like, that's way better than when we started. So what I would like to do, and you did say about the blip, something that you might be able to have a bit of a play with. But right now, confirm the fuel pressuring. I'll send you back this profile that I've just adjusted. Pop that in, go for a drive, see what it's like, flick me a log. If you make any changes, flick me a profile, and we'll have a go. We'll go round 4 now. We're actually getting somewhere. I would really like that speed. We go. Speed. I'd really like the speed to be correct when you're coming through. So if you could try and get that correct, that'd be fantastic. And we'll have a look at some logs once you've done that. But hey, we're looking pretty good. I'm really happy with the way this thing is actually progressing. And I'll spend a bit of time soon looking over some timing. But I think on the next one, I probably should check timing, Just wait there. Okay, I've been looking at some of the knock levels. And so I'm looking at the points here. Reasonable throttle. And the timing there's at 25, and we've got quite a lot of knock. Or quite a lot of engine noise is probably more what I'm saying. I don't think it's actually knocking as such. So I've just pulled a few degrees of timing out. And then we look here. we've got very, very high levels again. But it's actually on decel. So the timings come up. So I've popped a little bit of retard in on decel. I've given it 15 degrees of retard on decel just to see how that looks. So I'm expecting these to be quite different. Made a couple of changes. So I've put a new timing map in, with less timing up in the higher revs. I've made a couple of changes to the knock settings. Allowed a little bit more in the knock target. A little bit. And we'll see how that looks once we get it up and going. I might actually just pull these back just a little bit more. Now I've made some settings. I was just having a bit of a look around the settings to see how I'm feeling. We'll go down to about 500 is normally okay there. And that will allow me just to look as we go forward, as we develop this tune, what's going on. There is a lot happening in here. The numbers are a little bit higher than I would have liked in this zone, especially on the decel. And it took me a little while just to work out that it's closed throttle, just what's happening in there. Overall, I'm still pretty happy with it, so we'll get rid of that. I've saved a copy of this file, save, and I'll flick that over to Josh. He will have a try of it, and he'll flick me back some logs, and we shall continue.